1190. Let's go to voucher and adjustment entry and see what that would look like in terms of trying to take a voucher and paying it through wire transfer. So we bring up 1190, and what we find is that it defaults to the Fed wire. And since we said it cannot change, it'll show you the others, but it gives you a message that it cannot be changed. So in this case, this vendor can only be sent a Fed wire through the wire transfer module. And that again is configurable by vendor. Let's go back to eBanking and take a look at the payment selection filter and how that works with FedWire. So this is the new filter that allows one-pass processing. If I look up and pick a batch 127, in this particular batch I have vouchers that are both SL check vouchers, US Chase Access voucher, one of those, and a US ACH voucher. And so what this screen will now do, if I began processing, it would actually create two additional batches, 128 and 129, and each batch would have the appropriate types of vouchers in them. So the SL checks you would print on computer stock, the US Chase Access would be created and sent in that format to Chase, and the US ACH would be formatted in that format and also in this case sent to Chase. And that's how this payment selection filter has been enhanced to support this one-pass processing. Now let's go to the create and send area. This is the final area we'll touch on for the Wire Transfer Plus. And again, the orientation with this setup is eBanking files on the top with the affiliated batches below. And the only difference between this and the APFT is now we're going to select batches that are for Wire Plus. So I'm going to delete this first line here, and I'm going to say new eBanking file. Save that, do eBanking file, and you'll notice that immediately it selects the top one which has not been processed, and that's a US Chase Access, so that's going to be a wire file. So we select that, hit OK, and now we're ready to go, just like with the APFT process, and this would now go and create that file in the US Chase Access format. Again, the other options, these detail options, are fully available, both giving the drill down into the SL system as to what checks and vouchers this would be paying, and then all under file details, it's not available since we haven't yet created the file itself. The amount approval feature has been turned off, but that, if you had it turned on, this also applies to wires. So that pretty much covers the Wire Transfer Plus. Again, most of the functionality is virtually identical to APFT in terms of the workflow. There's just additional data elements that are required in vendor banking entry, and the format is very important to make sure that we have a format that supports the bank you're trying to transmit to. AREFT, or Accounts Receivable Electronic Funds Transfer. What's changed here? Again, the look and feel like Positive Pay and APFT and Wire. The eBanking files are shown at the top. Those files that actually have the AREFT information that was transmitted to the bank, and then the batches, the invoice batches that were used to put into those files is listed below. A couple of other major features that we had requests for are that now within one invoice batch created in AR, that batch can be processed multiple times into different EFT files at different times. So you might have 20 invoices in the batch, and today there are only 2 of them that you want to collect money on. You can come back to that batch again a later time and collect money against other invoices in that batch. And we've even extended it a step further that against an invoice in the batch, you can collect part of that money at one time, and then at a later time come back and collect some more of that money or the remaining amount. Also, there are additional invoice filters in the selection process to help you locate those invoices you want to collect from, and also some more support for credit memos, which we'll talk about. Let's jump over and take a look what that looks like in SL. We're going to focus in the Create and Send Receive area under AR. And this screen, again, like the others that we talked about earlier, if you'd seen that part of the video, there's the eBanking file orientation at the top with the batches, the invoice batches that related to those files in the grid below. So let's go, if we were going to create a new batch to send to the bank, new file to send to the bank, we'd hit new eBanking file. And again, we see here, as before, our AR invoices. Let's go now down to this particular AR invoice, batch 123, and we're going to go into select and view invoices. So as we bring this up, this screen looks pretty much the same. There are a couple new additions. One is, as you can see here, this particular invoice had an original amount of 100 with a discount of 5, and so we've gone and actually already collected the full 95 through AR EFT. One thing we've added is a button that gives you application details. This allows you to drill down and go into the AR receivables batch and the payment number that was that this was paid against, and it shows that that batch is on hold. It also gives you any other eBanking files that this might have been collected against. So if you have one invoice that's collected against many different files in EFT, more than one, you get to see that history in this application details. So that's another nice new feature we have there. Let me go back now to this other batch, this invoice batch 125. And in this particular batch, we'll see there are 3 invoices, and what we're going to do is we're going to go collect these amounts out of that batch, but we're not going to collect anything out of the second document. And what this now will allow us to do, that in this first, we call it now a group. In group 1, we're going to collect the 950 and the 2000. That'll allow us to come back, and at some later time we can create a group 2 and go and collect this remaining $100, the discount balance. So it would be $1,900 on this particular invoice. And again, that allows us now to have much more flexibility, and it's a requirement that many of you had brought to our attention. In addition, we have some additional filters up here that allow you to filter these invoices by discount date or due date, again to get a further drill down to find those invoices you want to send. And the final feature that we added was the ability to take a look at the fact that we have open credit memos against this particular customer. So what that's for is if you wanted to go and collect money against the customer and there's a credit memo, we give you a warning such that you may want to go and apply that credit memo to that customer before going and collecting the AR, so you're not over collecting and then have to we've had customers that have said, why are you collecting this amount of money if I have a credit memo with you? So that functionality has been added to the product as well. So that's in the selection process, and what I'm going to do here is click that amount, that invoice batch, which has a 2950 EFT total. If I clicked OK, this then would go and automatically create a new eBanking file. I'd simply, this is set to create and send. I'd begin processing, and we're off working just the way it normally would. Again, with ARFT, we have this details button, which allows us to drill down and see the invoices actually that we're going to be collecting from. Again, this is very similar to Positive Pay and APFT. And over here on this particular one, if we'd already sent a file to the bank, we can go and take a look at the actual file itself. So this was an ACH file that was created to go and collect the funds. So we have both those, the details, drill down of the SL information and the actual file details. So those are the features that we've added in AREFT. We think it adds a lot more flexibility, especially in terms of collecting against multiple invoice batches. Our lockbox processing modules had some additional features added as well. We now have added support for credit memos in the incoming file, that those can be applied, and discounts in the incoming file and or just automatically applied if it's appropriate. If the check comes in and we're within the discount period, that discount can be applied before the check is applied. Also, we've added some enhanced duplicate payment number checking, which I'll touch on briefly. So over in Lockbox, these new enhancements are in the Create and Send Receive Files process area. This screen is the same in terms of lockbox processing on the second tab. We have moved the import function into a secondary screen, but it's virtually identical. And I'm going to go into this workbench on this lockbox batch number 2. And what you'll notice now down in the lower errors grid, we've got credit memo not found. So on this particular record that came in from the lockbox batch, if you went to the lockbox record, you can see there's a credit memo field. So that can be marked as a document type, and then we know that that's a credit memo, and we need to find that number, that invoice number, the credit memo number, and try to apply it. In this case, we could not find it, but that functionality is there. Some of the other things, we've added an option that the payment amount can be changed. So if you know that that amount's incorrect, you could make that change. You could also modify the discount amount to apply if that's appropriate as well. And that discount amount will automatically be applied if it's appropriate according to the discount date that's for this particular invoice, for this particular customer. Also up here, in terms of when we go and transmit the file to the bank, we do a further checking of the reference number. Let's see where it is. Here it is. Here, the reference number, and so that could be modified in here if it's inappropriate, and or the checking will occur such that within a customer, if we have the same check number in different batches, we raise a flag on that, and you can modify it. We've had some problems where duplicate check numbers have come in because of the lockbox file being incorrect. So that's another feature that's been added with lockbox. So lockbox had a couple of changes, not very dramatic, however, compared to the other modules. So that concludes our summary of the changes in eBanking version 8. We hope that that's given you a little bit of taste of what's coming, and if you decide to upgrade, what you can look forward to. There's more information available to you on our new website. Please check that out. It's at www.sksoft.com. There you'll find data sheets on each of these modules that I've discussed. Plus there is a summary of changes document itself, which gives more detailed information on all these particular upgrade features. Also, we'll be adding more and more demo videos of each of the modules to highlight these new features and functionalities. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for using our products.